I almost said no. After a week that had wrung every last ounce of energy from my body and soul, the idea of getting dressed, putting on a smile, and facing a crowd of people, no matter how much I loved them, felt impossible. The couch was calling my name. So was the half-eaten pint of mint chip ice cream and the cozy comfort of my favorite hoodie. But when my phone buzzed for the 5th time that day, and I finally opened the group chat, the message from Brittany stood out. Don't even think about flaking, Emma. You need this. We're picking you up at 7. I sighed, glancing at the ticking clock on my desk. 5:24 p.m. I could still cancel. But my fingers betrayed me. Before I could talk myself out of it, I typed 2 words and hit send. I'm in. At 6:58 p.m., I heard the honk of Ryan's car pulling up in front of my apartment. I gave myself one last look in the mirror. Casual black jeans, a plum-colored sweater that brought out my eyes, and my hair in soft waves, and grabbed my purse. When I stepped outside, Brittany rolled down the passenger window and shouted, "There she is. We were about to drag you out in your pajamas if you didn't come down." I laughed and climbed into the back seat, squeezed in between Olivia and Ethan. The car was buzzing with energy. The music was upbeat, Brittany's playlist was in full swing, and Ryan was already animatedly describing some weird encounter he'd had at work. I leaned back against the seat and let the noise of my friends drown out the rest of the world. We were heading downtown to a rooftop bar Brittany had read about. She swore up and down that the sunset from there could make a grown man cry. I wasn't sure if I was emotionally ready for a rooftop sunset or a grown man crying, but I figured I could use a drink or two. The bar was perched atop a boutique hotel, and as we stepped out of the elevator, I immediately understood Brittany's obsession. The view was unreal. The entire city stretched before us in golden hues, the skyline shimmering in the late light. We snagged a table in the far corner with a perfect view and ordered our drinks. I hadn't felt this light in weeks. Between the work pressure, my stalled novel that refused to write itself, and a growing sense of emotional burnout, I'd been living in a fog. But here, surrounded by laughter, the clinking of glasses, and Ryan's terrible puns, it felt like the clouds were finally parting. Ethan leaned across the table to hand me my drink, his fingers brushing mine for a second longer than necessary. I didn't think much of it at the time. Ethan was always a little tactile, friendly in a way that made you feel seen. But that night, I caught his eyes lingering on mine just a second longer than usual. We talked for hours. The conversation danced between everything and nothing, memories from college, embarrassing first jobs, the time Olivia fell into a pool at a wedding and pretended it was a planned comedic act. Brittany got us all playing a round of impromptu truth or dare, claiming it was to spice up the night. "You're first, Emma," she said, pointing a manicured finger at me. "Truth or dare?" "Truth," I said quickly, not in the mood to dance on tables or text my ex. Brittany smirked. "Have you ever had feelings for someone in this group?" The table went silent. Olivia raised her eyebrows, clearly intrigued. Ryan took a sip of his drink like he suddenly wanted to disappear. I could have lied. I could have laughed it off. But something about the night, the buzz of the city, the soft clinking of ice in my glass, the way Ethan was watching me so carefully, made me answer honestly. Yes. There was a beat of stunned silence. Then Brittany gasped like she was on a reality show. "Shut up." "Who?" I smiled, shaking my head. "That's not part of the question." The group erupted in mock outrage, but I held my ground. And just like that, the moment passed, or so I thought. The game moved on, laughter returned, and the night deepened around us. After a while, we wandered to another bar, this one low-lit and filled with the hum of indie music. The dance floor was small but packed, and Brittany wasted no time pulling Olivia out with her. Ryan followed reluctantly, and soon it was just Ethan and me sitting on a pair of bar stools near the back. He leaned close, his voice barely audible over the music. "It was me, wasn't it?" I froze. "I mean," he continued, "I didn't want to assume, but I noticed how you looked at me after the question. And the way you've been around me lately. I don't know, Emma. I just felt it." My heart was thudding so hard I thought it might rattle the glass in my hand. I started, then stopped. Ethan didn't push. He just waited. That was the thing about him. He always waited. For everyone else to finish speaking, to process, to be ready. It was you, I said finally, my voice barely above a whisper. It's been you for a while. He let out a soft breath. Why didn't you ever say anything? Because I didn't want to ruin this, I replied, motioning vaguely between us. Our group. The friendship. I thought maybe I was the only one feeling it. His hand reached over and covered mine. You're not. I looked up and saw something in his eyes that wasn't just attraction. It was history. All the late-night talks. The inside jokes. The support when I'd wanted to give up on my writing. He'd been there, steady as gravity. When he leaned in to kiss me, it wasn't dramatic or wild. It was soft. Warm. Familiar in the way the first cold breeze of fall feels familiar, like something you forgot you missed until it came back around. We didn't say much after that. We joined the others, danced for a while, and eventually ended the night at a 24-hour diner, sharing pancakes and stories like teenagers. By the time Ryan dropped me off, the sky was streaked with early morning light. Ethan walked me to my door, and we stood in a silence that wasn't awkward. Tonight was, I started. Amazing, he finished. I know. I laughed, still dazed by the turn my night had taken. Hey, he said, brushing his thumb gently along my cheek. I'm glad you said yes. Me too, I whispered. He kissed me again, and I knew, deep in my bones, that this wasn't just a fleeting moment. This was a beginning. I watched him walk back to the car, heart racing, cheeks sore from smiling. All I could think was how close I'd come to saying no, and how glad I was that I didn't. Because saying yes to that night didn't just save me from another lonely Friday. It changed everything.